What's good, everybody? I wanted to do a follow up to a video that I had did last week when I got news that my retirement, my fleet reserves, was was canceled, and obviously, you know, in that video I mentioned that it was due to my active duty time was not calculated properly. Um, and the thing that's got me kind of hemmed up right now is the fact that I'm in a I was in a limit I just came out of a med board, and I'm in a limited duty state. So so with that being said, PERS basically changed my code, ACC code, to 355 pending med board, which means that being in that status, I'm not eligible to be able to submit a fleet reserve request again once I get into my new window to be able to apply. But I don't want to focus too much on, like, oh, this is messed up or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to do a recap on, just kind of reflect on some of the things that I did planning wise, some of the things I did right, and where I went wrong, in hopes that it will help somebody else that might be in this similar situation. With that being said, also anything that I say here is not, don't accept it as like legal counsel or anything like that. I'm just expressing to you what I did to get to where I'm at, and just kind of make a recommendation about planning, and that's all it is. So bottom line is, this is what I ended up doing. So I had 5 years of active duty service back in, from 1988 to 93. Served on board USS Independence CV-62. I was in the Gulf War and everything. Did my 5 years, and then I got out for 15. 2008 happened, economy crashed, and I'm like, dang, if I would have stayed in the first time, that would have been my 20 and I would have been done. So that was kind of one of the things that triggered me coming back in. I mean, I had been wanting to come back in before, just kind of missing that camaraderie and whatnot. But that was kind of like the final straw. That was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get back in, because obviously, I would have been better off if I would have stayed in under the circumstances. So with that being said, came back in, but only on the reserve side, because at that time, the Navy was not taking prior service members in because the economy crashed. Everybody and their mama was looking for work. And, so you had folks with, freaking master's degrees and stuff like that, coming in on the enlisted side. They were enlisting. So military, pretty much just had a field day with being able to pick whoever they wanted. But I was able to come back in on the reserve side. Took full advantage of opportunities to do short-term orders and whatnot. I even did funeral honors. I did probably close to 150 funeral honors. Got a couple of NAMs out of that. Get some good recognitions from it. And but bottom line is I took full advantage of the opportunities that were available to me while I was in the reserves, and built up a lot of points. If you know anything about the select reserves, everything is about having that 50 points within your calendar. I'm sorry, not calendar, but within your anniversary year, and being able to have that count as a good year. So basically, on your anniversary year, you need to have completed 50 points in order for that to count as a good year towards retirement. They give you 15 off the bat, and then everything else is just you adding on to it. But opportunity came up for me to be able to come back on active after doing that for about 4 years. So I did 4 years on the reserve side, and then came on active duty in November of 2012, and I've been on active duty ever since. So now, in 2012, when I came on active duty, that was when the first mistake was made. Okay, I asked the question: is my reserve time being, counted for, going forward towards retirement? And I was told yes. Now at the time I didn't know, any better in terms of like, in which, which points, which so-called points counted towards retirement, because the reality is that not all time counts towards retirement coming out of the reserve. The only time it counts is if you're under orders, like ADT, active duty for training, ADSW, active duty for special work, things like that. My funeral honors didn't count. Drill time don't count. Correspondence courses don't count. So just because you showed up in uniform, that doesn't count. Counts on the reserve side, but as far as active duty side, if you weren't on orders, doesn't count. And I did not know that at the time, and that's not how it was presented to me. So fast forward, when I put in my request to be able to retire, it was based on my adjusted active duty start date, which was November 15th of 2004, which means that should be November 15th of 2024 for 20 years, but that didn't happen. So here's the thing. Here's the deal. The thing I want to talk about is making sure that if you are coming up into your time thinking about retiring, if you are, coming into your window, you should have already been planning, right? But if you're retirement minded and you still got, like, say, another 10 years to go, another 8 years to go, whatnot, I'm gonna tell you right now, start really, really hitting hard and formulating your plan, about 7 years out or so. I'm just gonna say what I did for me, right? I made sure that when I was in my window, before I hit my window to select orders for my last tour, I went on ahead and re-enlisted and locked in my 20, or at least what I thought would have been my 20. Okay, locked in that 20, and then I went on ahead and submitted a 1306 saying, letting them know that I intend to separate at my EAOS and to mark my record as such. So that way, when I did start picking orders and everything, that they would go ahead and match my EAOS to my PRD. So that means I'm doing 20, not doing anything anymore, any less. Okay. The reality is that if you change your mind, and obviously, military needs trained personnel, especially the higher up in pay grade you go, so if you change your mind, it's always easy to change your mind. It's always easy to submit another 1306 and say, request to remove the flag on my record. That's not that difficult. Seeing other sailors do it all the time. It's not a guarantee it'll always happen. However, I'm just letting you know the possibilities. So make sure you lock in your 20. Okay. Lock in your 20 and then start going to medical. Any aches and pains you have, get it documented. I don't care if it just bothers you just a little bit. Complain about it. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. You should be in medical when you're, in that window. As you start marching closer and closer, you should be in, showing up to medical a lot more frequently. But when you're 7 years out, 6 years out, I would say just plan on going to medical, like, every other month, complaining about the same stuff that's been bothering you. Ask for, physical therapy, ask for the referrals and stuff like that. Make sure you get the x-rays, make sure you get blood work and stuff done. Start establishing that pattern, of showing that you've got some issues that need to be taken care of, and don't lean into the fact that, it doesn't bother me that much. It's, because the reality is that, if you feel it now, you're going to really be feeling it as you get older. You're going to really feel it as you get older, and that's how I was, especially when it came to my shoulder, my back, my knees. I had 2 surgeries on my ankles. One of the surgeries didn't even really fix nothing, but still, just pain all the time. But in terms of, like, all this different stuff that you should be getting documented, obviously later on you're going to want to submit VA claims. that's a story for another video. But bottom line, that's what I did, is I tried to do everything the right way. Now, where I messed up at, okay, and I'm speaking to you guys that have a break in service, mixed service, um, reserves, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever. If you have a broken service and prior service and you got some reserve time in there, whatnot, when you start getting close to your window, okay, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to reach out and, for the Navy, it's Navy Personnel Command. So reach out to Millington and just request for a draft statement of service. Now, draft statement of service is, here's my draft statement of service, right? So if I had to do it all over again before I submitted that request, I would have asked for this draft statement of service and made sure that all of my reserve time was counted for. So if you go down here, you'll see like all my drill, my drill sheet, up in here, it'll show like, okay, this was my reserve time. This was my active duty time. It shows that I did 4 years, 11 months, and 18 days back in the 80s. Yeah, so I'm old, I get it. All the reserve assignments coming back onto being active duty again. So right here is the active duty time. But bottom line is, I came up a little short. Okay. But if I had known that before I was going to submit my Fleet Reserve request, obviously I would have planned things differently. If I would have known that back then, I would have planned things differently, and I would have been able to, just kind of avoid the issues that I'm running into now. So that's the takeaway that I have for this video, is basically just, if you have broken service, if you have reserve time, get a statement of service, make that plan, and just go from there. Okay.